Ah, okay.
Welcome back to Five Lemons Laughing. I'm here with Morgan and Melissa. I'm Amanda. Penny and Drusilla are off having fun, living their lives, and we miss them. Sending them lots of love. Because and today we're talking about love.
Mm.
Uh-huh. We're pondering the question, can we be right and be in love? You see, the ego loves winning, but intimacy isn't something that you win or lose. So if you've ever felt the urge to correct, defend, one up, or be seen as more evolved in a relationship, ouch, you've met the spiritual ego. So let's talk about how the need to be right or special or superior is costing us connection, like true unconditional love, being present with our loved ones.
Mm. So interesting, Amanda, because it's really subtle. And we're talking about how that subtle ego, or even like this loud ego, shows up in our relationships, especially the spiritual ones. And like, where do we come in as right? And this is my way, and this is what I think, and this is the way. Or we allow peace to be there and just let the loving connection happen without interjecting. So, whether it's needing to be the teacher or the healer or just the person who has the final word, um, bottom line is the ego's favorite game is separation. Um, but when we are actually working towards connection, that is in the realm of the heart. So, I do have a question. When and where does your ego sneak into your relationships, even your loving ones, and even the ones we have with each other on like a spiritual level? Um, where is it showing up?
Mm. Juicy question.
That is a juicy question.
Yeah. I want to go back real quick before we answer it to the introduction, because you asked Amanda, can we be right and be in love? And it sounds like in love, like heart eyes, like, ooh, I'm so in love with him. But I think what you're asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, can we be right and be coming from love with the capital L, like be as love, in love, but not like in love in the like goo goo eyes kind of way. Is that correct?
Yes. And that is a great clarification, because love with a small L is just like what you said, right? That's actually part of the ego. And love with the big L is unconditional, where you are accepting someone just as they are.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, Melissa, can you restate the question, please?
Sure, I sure can. Okay, so what and where does the ego sneak up into your relationships? Again, even the loving ones, even the spiritual ones, even the friendships.
Yeah.
Where does it come sneaking in?
I actually have an example from just yesterday, and it is a sneaky one. And the ego loves to be sneaky, and it loves to get in there and even manipulate our spiritual practice. So I recognized it yesterday. I was in the car with my husband, and he was upset with something that I said or something that I did. And I was uncomfortable in his upset, and I wanted the upset to go away. So I was trying to manage and manipulate him into coming back to, let's just have peace in the car. Let's just love one another and be kind to one another and, shiny, happy people. Well, that's not allowing the full human experience. That's making his upset wrong or bad when the full range of emotions is not good or bad. It just is. And that's managing, controlling, manipulating. So that's one subtle way that it can show.
Yeah.
Is needing things to be different from how they are.
Yes.
And did you realize that when you were in the car in the middle of it?
Not in the middle of it, but I would say that it was shortly thereafter. I think I'm closing that gap. I think the awareness of it came quicker. than it
Mhm.
has.
And I'm just so interested in this because this is so common to be in the middle of this. Did you, what did you do when you realized it? Did you like, were you already trying to manage and cope and like to shift his feelings, or did you just let them ride?
Well, I already had tried to, like, you know, coax him back over um, into, like, let's be happy and in love together. But I just kind of let that go. I just kind of let that go and moved into acceptance. And it did shift on its own, you know, not a few minutes later, probably. So, and I'm not saying that that was, in response to my acceptance. It might sometimes, you might experience an instantaneous miracle if you correct your mind, and you might not. You might, if you're in acceptance, it doesn't matter if the circumstances change because you accept whatever's happening. So, yeah, in that particular case, I just kind of let it go, stopped trying to manage his feelings and accepted his feelings, and you know it just kind of moved through. That's what happens in our own experience too. If we're resisting our emotions, then they fester in our body. Or if we you know just let them run through, they run through in just a few seconds. I think they say 90 seconds. So I think that's kind of what I allowed to happen.
Yeah, and the spiritual path is not always not messy. I
Hmm.
think like the wanting to be right and the I know more and this is the spiritual way may sometimes show up to like, let's smooth all this over. Let's make this all peaceful and happy. But that's not, like you just said, your story was perfect. Allowing the other person in the scenario or the other people to be themselves, to let it fold. It's how you're reacting to it. Like the allowing other people to have their whole scene, and then you get to choose how you get to react. um but and for me, like I'm a caretaker, so my I would also do what you did, Morgan, and I would also want to make sure they're okay.
Right.
Like, and you're okay, right, and you're
Yeah.
happy. Yeah.
Right.
So
Or
but
apologize when you're not really sorry, but you just want peace.
yes, yeah. Did you feel like you did you come from a place of like feeling right or wanting to feel right, or
Mm. I honestly can't remember. Oh, wait, hold on. I remember now. One second. Um, I think I said something that felt true for me and it hurt his feelings. And so I don't think I had the sense or the need to like withdraw. Like in the past, I would have withdrawn it, like, oh, I didn't mean that. Or, I think I stayed firm in what my truth, if you will, with not a capital T. But yeah, I don't know. Can you restate your question again?
yeah, did you feel like you were in a place of needing to be right at
Oh,
that?
mm, not as much as I have in the past. So thank you for asking me to reflect on that, because I don't think I gave myself credit for that. But no, I don't think so.
And what about like a place of this is better than what you're feeling? So let's move into this place. Let's move into the happy place because that's better than the sad,
Yeah.
mad, grumpy place.
Yeah, certainly.
And do you think that is a place needing to be right?
Probably. Yeah. There's definitely still, and I've talked about this on past episodes about not accepting the full range of my husband's emotions, and specifically when he's angry, like going into resistance and trying to shut it down. And so definitely there's still some of that lingering non acceptance of those negative emotions, with air quotes. So, yeah.
And then how does that get in the way of intimacy and your deep connection?
Well, because that's conditional. That's conditional love. And on some level, people feel that. And yeah.
And we feel it. I mean, you're
Yeah.
telling me a story, so I feel like I can add here. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I do the same thing because, I can feel like, well, if you're not doing this, then that is a condition that
Mm,
I withdraw my connection.
right. I can't accept you if you're going to be angry all the time. I can't
Yeah,
accept you if you're going to be sad and all those, lower level emotions.
yeah.
People want to feel accepted even in their low states, and loved unconditionally. So, yeah.
Melissa, I love the fact that you brought up conditions, right? Because
Mhm.
that is definitely a one way to know when you are in an ego mind frame. Like, is this conditional? Am I gonna, you know, love conditionally?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about the two of you? How does ego subtly interfere in your relationships?
It's not so subtle. So so
Well, how does
direct.
it smack you in the face, Melissa?
And honestly, Morgan, I do the same thing.
Mhm.
But mine's definitely for, a sense of wanting to have the situation feel better for me.
Mhm.
Doesn't feel safe when things get real mucky in my relationship. As far as, like, just what I've learned in my past of what feels safe. So, I wanna change the feeling that I'm having, so I show up to correct the situation, again, in air quotes, um, so it feels better for me. Um, and then that's a condition.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and for me, I in my relationship, because I have been such a caretaker for my husband, for our family, for like each individual person, each child, each situation, it has fed my need to control, and I've shown up to do it. I mean, it's my reaction to things, but it also has cut me off from being in a situation with people where I'm authentically heard. I'm authentically like I've just have been such a doer that, like, sometimes my feelings go aside, my real feelings, my really, really how I feel. And so, um, that's so when it's hard for me to think, like, how do I show up without needing to be right? Because I feel like I'm not heard and I feel like I'm not appreciated. And so I think some of the behavior that I have is meant, like, I do it for recognition. Um, and bottom line is that it does diminish the connection and the intimacy because it is conditional. And um, I have my condition is I'm needing something from it
Instead of remembering your wholeness.
instead of remembering my wholeness. And my wholeness does not depend on my husband stopping everything he's doing and completely appreciating everything that's coming out of my mouth. So, yeah.
Melissa, there's so much there. Right when you first started telling the story, I was like, wow. Do you think that you, by being such a caretaker and just letting go of your own needs, that you trained all of the people that you were caretaking not to
Sure.
even consider your needs because you
Uh,
never had them
like,
present?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
absolutely. And it's all, I think, like, I didn't get that far into caretaking without it giving me something. Like, it gave me, um, y worthiness.
Mhm.
And if someone depended on me and relied on my help and knew I could do it and didn't have to struggle and didn't have to feel bad and all that, then I thought that was my contribution.
Mhm.
I
Do
would
yeah, do you think that, like, that was it gave you purpose? Like, you were look
It gave me love.
it gave you conditional love, you would say?
Conditional, absolutely. Conditional love, and I taught those people how to love me conditionally.
Ooh,
Mm.
mhm.
No bueno. No,
I mean,
no
so, I mean,
bueno.
that sounds like a pretty deep hole. How do you get yourself
Yeah.
out of that?
I am still working at it. I think, I have to remind myself, like just answering your question, I have to remind myself, this is something that I did, not in a judgmental, um, be mad at myself about it, but I can also learn how to do it differently now. I can say, "My feelings matter now." Um, I wore myself out with doing, for other people, um, and so I just can't do it anymore because I am too tired to do that, and um, I have more peace when I don't do that. So, the other thing is I can, um, I can rally for myself now. I can say, um, I need you to see that I have feelings that need to be, that I have feelings that you need to hear me so I feel appreciated. I need to feel appreciated. I need to feel also cared for, that kind of stuff. So I can change that for myself. And I have a very, very loving family. And that, again, that's also a reflection of me.
Yes, it
Yes.
is. Mhm.
Way to
So,
go for claiming that.
yeah, thank you. We all can move through this together. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have two sons and a husband who love me so much. I know that. Again, some of it, the love doesn't come in because I need to be right about things. And that's my block to letting them love me. But the massive amount of love is there.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, so we can just kind of keep doing it. We can keep working at it.
Yeah. Love that. Love that perspective. And what I'm hearing in both of our shares is that when we're trying to manipulate the situation to get that recognition or to get that, peace, that's exactly it. We're trying to find our way back to homeostasis or our wholeness or our peace, but we're doing it with ego instead of with spirit. So, what are some more like practical spiritual approaches that we could take to accomplish that same goal more effectively?
Mhm.
I think it's gotta start with recognizing all of the forms of manipulation,
Hmm.
right? Because on the surface, like trying to restore peace in your car, Morgan, right? That doesn't seem like manipulation. That just seems like you want peace. But, like really going into the story, you're trying to change what he's thinking. That is manipulation. So just taking a moment to think about how you're trying to change the situation, any situation, and manipulate it.
Yeah.
And Melissa, and I haven't told a story yet, so I don't have to pick on myself.
But if you have one, we do want to hear it.
Yeah, thank you. Melissa, and your caretaking, I don't know. I didn't hear like if you were manipulating them into some.
Sure,
So
sure.
what was your in that process of caretaking? What was your manipulation?
Well, it was always showing up as the rescuer so that they love me.
Okay.
And and you don't have to feel that way. You don't have to do that. I'll do that for you. And that doesn't allow someone to have their own feelings, their own journey, their own, as Penny says, she was really busy putting the pillows down so her
Mm.
kids didn't fall hard, and I did the same thing. Um, and everyone has to fall and get back up. So, um, I that was part of it. That, like, easing the journey for my children and doing everything I could for everyone else. It is all a form of manipulation. And honestly, it's not it's something to recognize. It just is how it was for me. It just is how I learned that maybe someone will love me more if I do X, Y, and Z for them. And I don't do a lot of it anymore. Um, and I think for me, it has come with the work of loving myself more.
Mm.
So, and just the spiritual work, like I don't need to do all that to have
Right.
people.
How are your relationships now that you're no longer doing that? Or you're
Great.
doing less?
Yeah. Yeah. It just it they're all evolving. And I'm also like I really, really feel I wouldn't be here if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So all that is okay.
Right.
Uh, but I do need to use it as something as a teaching for myself that I don't want to keep doing that. That's not how I want to be in a loving relationship with someone.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, Melissa, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're really cultivating that love for yourself. So it doesn't have to go out and seek love from others.
Yes.
But what I'm also hearing is that it's not like you stopped caring for your
Oh no.
family. It's not like
No.
you're going to stop doing stuff to support your family. It's just the motivation behind it is shifting. Did I get that right?
Yes, that along with one thing I did do was not pay attention to my own needs. Like,
Hmm.
caretaking to the point of I couldn't get out of bed because I just was so fatigued and for months and months. So um that's me not taking care of myself or my needs or um even just knowing that I'm full of love without having to do something for someone. So um like the caretaking stuff, it did shift, but I still do loving things for my family. I
Mhm.
just do it and I pay attention to my needs.
Yeah. It's less from a place of sacrifice and martyrdom or,
Yes. Victim. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, one way that I'm hearing that we can come back to our peace and our wholeness without manipulation is to begin with self love and then responding to your loved ones from that space of
Yeah.
wholeness and self love and self compassion instead of from a space of grasping, needing, trying to get love from it without.
Yes. And it's all manipulation. All that is, like you said before. And so, yeah, if you're not in a place of needing all of that, you're not going to need to manipulate your relationships. And then they'll be in harmony in their own way that it happens with
Mhm.
another person. So, um, I think a lot of my fatigue was about how much I was controlling all the loved ones around me because
Right.
all was just control. Is that are you confused, Amanda?
Not at all,
Okay,
because
good.
I'm just thinking about a story in my head, right? It just came up about how much I was trying to control and manipulate a situation out of fear, right? That's what I was.
Let's
That's
hear it.
kind of
Maybe
the
it'll be
bottom
helpful.
line. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I always labeled my husband as an angry person, and I um, didn't want, first of all, I didn't want others to see the anger because somehow, like that reflected on me. I must be an angry person too. And then his anger, um, very masculine, like just whatever's coming up, just like rah, 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 right? It fear. It terrified me. So
Mm.
I would shut it. I would try to shut it down because I was so uncomfortable in it. And also, like, let's talk about the manipulation. Like, I would even do subtle little jabs at him to tear him down a little bit so he wouldn't express his whole self. So I was manipulating him by holding him down. Does
Can you
that?
give an example of one of those little jabs?
Oh my God, there's just so many, right? That I just can't even. I can't think of any, but they're just the little subtle digs,
Mhm.
right? Just the little subtle digs.
Like, I'm just going to throw this out here because
Yeah.
I relate so much to your
Yeah.
story. And I know one thing I used to say, hopefully I wouldn't do this in the future, but like, um, why are you so angry about this? There's no reason to be so upset about this. Like, just totally invalidating his
Yes.
experience.
Thank you. It's the invalidation. And like when somebody would cut him off in traffic and he'd just explode, and I would go into, oh my God, it's just traffic. Like you said, just invalidating him. That's one example, just completely invalidating his whole feelings, which I think in the long run, um, backfires, right? Because I
Mhm.
wasn't seeing him as, I saw him as needing to be fixed.
There
I
you go.
didn't see him as just the whole perfect, complete being that he is, that I am, that we all are. And so that was me manipulating him and trying to stifle his anger, where in reality, he just there's an explosion, and um, and then it goes away. Whereas, like, I don't explode, I fester and I
Yeah.
dig and I cut down and I gossip,
Mhm.
not as much as but that's how it was, just different. And I was trying to make him different.
Mm.
I thought he was less than I was. And
Right.
and that's me being, and then that's also me being superior. I'm special. You're not.
That's what
All of
that's
the
what we're
things.
talking about. That's
Yeah.
Exactly.
exactly what the topic is.
Hmm.
Well, and in some ways, he actually had the more evolved approach because it's like a child having a little temper tantrum and then they're happy and singing the next few minutes. You know what I mean? Like they got it out of their system. Whereas you continue to fester with it and let it affect you for much longer, it sounds like.
Years, like
Yeah.
years. Like I would bring, something up years later.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, just to get a dig. When he was, all, being proud and being a man, and, showing up in the relationship, like I would start to get scared because of the anger would build, and I would have to put in a little dig to bring that energy down.
Hmm.
So that's how the ego and the specialness, and that totally, there's no way that we could connect on that level. Right, with me trying to hold him down and dig into, not really loving myself enough to, like, Morgan, I love your situation. Like, you just let it be in the car, right? That just seems so, at one point in my life, that seemed so foreign to me. There's no way I could have sat in that.
Yeah. Yes, that is the practice, is getting comfortable in the physical discomfort. And that's
Mhm.
why, that's why Kundalini yoga and yoga practices and things like that, that's how they are helping us. Because, when you're doing a practice for 30 seconds and at first it feels easy and then you're doing it for 2 minutes. And by the end, you're like, I can't do this. But when you get comfortable in the discomfort, that's when we really start to have our miracles and our breakthroughs because we're not identified in the physical anymore. Um, yeah, I don't know if I expressed that clearly, but
You did.
Yes, that
And
was
I don't,
wonderful.
yeah. And I don't think about yoga that way. So thank you for saying that, right? There's just practicing being comfortable in discomfort.
hmm not trying to shut it down or
No.
push it away or change it, just being totally present with the discomfort. And that's how we regulate our nervous system. And that's how we push up against our higher limits, our upper limits, or whatever. Like, so it's such a valuable practice, but you have to sit with the discomfort. And nobody wants to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that perspective. And Amanda, what you were saying about fixing because you were feeling superior, think I mean, that's why I do it.
Yeah. Ah,
Totally.
I mean,
Uh,
that's why we're here to talk about this stuff, right?
yeah, yeah. So, yes, to me, that nailed it
Mhm.
completely, what we're talking about. And we can always justify it. We can always justify it, but that doesn't give us a deeper connection. So
Mm-mm.
how do you get maybe not get over the superiority, but how do you move beyond thinking you know better? And how can you let that part go so you can have deeper connections?
Mm. That's an excellent question. And I think it comes from letting go of judgments. It has to be like that's one of the first steps is like, first of all, not judging myself for where I used to be, not judging myself and just allowing that. And then also, in like my example, not judging my husband as getting life wrong, right?
Yep.
He's on his own path. I'm on my own path and we're coexisting. Because the
Yeah.
other side of like my personal learning is, not manipulating him, not trying to get him. And then that allows him to be his more authentic self, which lifts him up. So I was actually, in my superiority, I was actually not being able to see who he really was. So I was shading myself, I was shading him, and then there was no way that we could be in the light together.
Mm.
Mm, wow.
I don't know if that answered your question specifically, but it felt good to say it.
It was lovely. I like your shading.
Mhm.
So awareness, you
Mhm.
you become aware of yourself doing it. That's like I your story sounds exactly, I mean, we're saying the exact same thing with the
Mhm.
caretaking stuff.
Mhm.
Being aware to it, and for me as well, it's been like I just needed to come to a willingness that this is not how I wanted it to be anymore for me or for the ones I loved, because I thought it was love, but it was like you said, it was a superiority. I know better. I'm going to fix all this stuff about you, and you don't need to learn this lesson because I'll make it easy for you. And then um, I had to I had to be willing to let all that go and not think that my whole life was gonna get destroyed, and it
Yeah,
didn't.
Mhm.
exactly. One practice that helps me that I often have to do in hindsight, like I don't often remember to do it in the moment, but it's that whole principle from A Course in Miracles about taking responsibility. Um, I am responsible for the world I see, and everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. Um, so one way that I practice that is whatever whatever the judgment that I've made about being superior or being right and they're wrong and they need to change is just a quick Byron Katie turnaround. Well, is that true? And then giving the opposite examples of, well, is it as true or truer that the opposite, like whatever, like that John Mark is actually superior to me in this situation because X, Y, and see if I can come up with an example of that. And then another practice, and usually I can. And then another practice that I like is like I kind of do the Ho'oponopono prayer. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. But I pause on the I'm sorry and I name what I'm sorry for. And that's kind of like my way of taking responsibility and like it invites kind of a deeper reflection of like, how am I um, responsible for this situation? You know what I mean?
I love that.
So, yeah. So, like, I'm trying to think of like an example of what that would look like with the situation in my car. Like, I'm uh, sorry that I didn't allow you to be upset with me. I'm sorry that I was uncomfortable and the upset and tried to change your experience, or you know what I mean. But yeah,
Those are great examples.
Mhm.
Melissa, something that you said, like was really quiet and still afterwards because it was like there was like a truth bomb in there. Because you said something about like blowing up your life. Like, what if your change blew up your life? And so for me, it's like the basic tool for me is like dealing with that fear So I have been so clingy to relationships in the past because of fear of being alone, fear of whatever it is.
Mhm.
So really going in and digging up the fear, not that I believe that you have to really live all the fearful experiences, but going in there and excavating that fear and dealing with it to allow myself to feel whole so I can hold that wholeness space for whatever situation that I am. So it releases that fear. So for me, that's where it starts. That's a key tool, which is super scary because it's fear.
And I think thank you for that, Amanda, and I think that when we're in kind of a codependent thing,
Mhm.
and we're let's say we hit a wall and we do decide, "I'm willing to let this be different." I pray to God to show me some other ways to do this.
Mhm.
There's such a dance that you've created with the person that you're dancing with that, uh, if you if you change it, there is a possibility that will end. That dance
Yeah,
is over.
that
And I
dance.
think it keeps people stuck in that because at least a dysfunctional love's better than no love is what those, like, tapes are playing in our
Mhm.
heads, like, you know, something's better than nothing, and that's not true. And also, in my experience, um, it nothing like I said, it didn't blow up. I didn't lose those relationships. I've been together with the same person for 35 years. So, it has it just makes things, um, more holy, just like we were talking about last week, more of a holy relationship. And, for me, that's the goal.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up last week's episode because this episode feels like a really deep dive into um, why we hold special relationships versus holy relationships. So, anyone listening to this and hasn't listened to the episode before, this would be a great thing to go back and listen. I think it'll change the perspective. And even if you did listen to that one before, go back and listen to it again because it's going to shift some things around.
Mhm. Yeah, good point.
And I think I know we have to wrap up, but you also think like I was trained by people who were doing their best, but
Yep.
Mhm.
their dance was dysfunctional, and they
Yeah.
were trained by
Mhm.
people doing their best in their dysfunctional dance. And I feel very fortunate to feel like I'm waking up. Like eh, we don't have to do it this way anymore. I don't have to stick with behaviors and a dance that doesn't fulfill me anymore, that kind of thing. Um, and so I was listening to this thing by or someone was quoting Alan Watts, and it was essentially our lives, and I think our lives, along with the lives of our lineage, is a song or like a marathon. But it's all connected. We're not like a piece or a word out of a song. We're the whole song. And so our lives are the whole song, and this is just a part. And so to view our life as this evolution, our lineage as this evolution, it's for me, it's beautiful and freeing.
Mm. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah. It feels like it's time for Penny's post-its, but Penny's not here. So does anyone have like a key takeaway since we don't have a post-it?
Mm.
Anybody have a key takeaway from today?
Well, you kind of summarized that recognizing where the manipulation is hiding out is a crucial first step. And it makes me think of the Jennifer Hadley quote, awareness is curative, or maybe that's not her quote, but it's where I first heard it. Awareness is curative. So just being curious about, what if that behavior that I thought was loving is actually where ego is hiding out in my relationships, and just being willing to question and look at the subtle ways that maybe you're manipulating and you thought it was love, like it's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
I love that.
You too.
One of
And
my
go ahead.
one of my key takeaways, Morgan, is being comfortable in the discomfort. Maybe not
Yeah.
comfortable, but
Yeah.
just being
Learning to be comfortable in that.
learning. Yes, learning to be comfortable. That's my key takeaway. Sorry, Melissa, I didn't mean to talk over
No,
you.
didn't. No. Um, but Amanda, you were talking about like not judging the situation. And that to me was what I was talking about, the evolution of your life. It just it's just part of it. And it's not something to beat ourselves up about. I was so bad. I'm so bad because I did that. And, but to have that awareness and the willingness to change and to hand it over to like a higher power that can help you through this.
Mm.
I think that's very important.
Beautiful. Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. Next week, we are talking about the voice inside, how we're rewriting the script on self judgment. And so, thank you so much for being present with us today. Thank you for walking through this mess, this magic, and this humble moment of being a human being. Remember, your transformation is our greatest joy, and we'll see you next week.
Right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.